Hi everyone, I might be streaming, I might not. I'm just running some checks now to make sure that it's coming through okay. Unfortunately, this is a bit of a kind of last minute stream, so please just bear with me whilst I just check that the sound and everything else is working as I would expect. Bear with me. It says that it's live. I think that we should be okay. Great, I'm visible, audio is clear, and it's just my phone which hasn't picked it up yet. So, hi everyone, I'm Frank from the City of Games, and as I say, today's it's a bit different to normal. This is very much a last minute kind of thing. I sent out an update kind of, I guess, 45 minutes ago or something, and I just wanted to kind of come and have a chat. So you can see I'm wearing this so that I can hear myself, but I can't hear myself. You can hear me, that's good. I'm holding my phone here because this is so not planned that I don't actually have anything with me so I can see the chat. So that's equally kind of good planning for me. But yeah, so what's going on? I guess like I just want to kind of go over some of the stuff that I've just sent out in an update, and then I'm obviously happy to answer any questions and kind of let people ask away and kind of say stuff. Before I kind of go too far, I just want to be really clear that the core purpose of this conversation today is to basically say that there's been some problems with the City of Kings in the kind of shipping part, and that some of the games have been damaged. Now, the really important thing at this point is that there's no one to blame. I don't want anyone to kind of be blaming manufacturers. I don't want people to be blaming shipping companies or fulfillment centers. At this point of time, there really isn't like anything anyone can do. There's no hard feelings. Everyone is working so hard to come back and just to help and to fix this problem. And it's not anyone's fault. I mean, deep down, it's my fault. You know, I'm responsible for this project. I've signed off on all of the decisions, and perhaps something could have been done differently. I don't know. And until we know more information about all of this, then there's not really much we can do. So, what's happened? A couple of weeks ago, you know, I guess a month ago now or so, the game started to ship out, and the first games arrived with VFI, who are our Asian fulfillment center, and we're working with 5 different fulfillment centers around the world to get the games out to people and to avoid kind of taxes and things like that, so you don't have to pay them through customs, and to keep the shipping prices down. And VFI, being based in China, were the first ones to receive the games. Now, obviously, there's a very small amount of games that are being shipped out in the China region. It's a few percent of the entire kind of stock, and we kind of wanted them to hold back until obviously we paid deposits and things. So it's taken a bit of time kind of for the process to kick off, and they finally started the process, and well, it just didn't turn out to be what we kind of hoped. Basically, hey Scott, thanks for joining, guys. I really appreciate everyone kind of coming in. So, and you do need to update your profile picture. It's ridiculous. So they kind of got the games and they've started going through them, and they found that a few were damaged. And the first kind of comment, and the guy, this is how amazing the fulfillment guys are. The guys at VFI, they wanted some games for themselves. They had actually asked before we shipped them if they could have, like, you know, buy some for themselves. And when they first opened the boxes and they had a few damaged ones, they just sent me an email and they just said, like, just let you know, like, there's been a couple of damaged games, but it's not a problem. Like, we'll just take them as ours, you know, we'll have a look at them. Like, we don't care, it's not a problem. And, you know, that was great. And then they emailed back and said there was more damages and they'd been packing the games and there'd been problems with them. And I said to them at the time, like, can we just stop packing and just do a full count? And obviously it's a smaller team, and they came back with such a detailed report, which was amazing. And basically they said there was a lot of damages. So the thing that I want to kind of be clear about here in regards to damages, so Andre, I know you're saying what type of damage is being observed. Well, This is the thing that's really tricky, and this is one of the reasons that I didn't really talk about the type of damage in my update too much. The reason for this is that which I'll come into in a minute, Unicorn Games have also started looking through the games, and the types of damage that they're reporting do seem to be slightly different. And the damage that they're reporting in Australia seems to be somewhat more shipping based, whilst the damage that's being reported in VFI seems to be slightly more to do with kind of the way we've packed the games, the manufacturing kind of packing process. And this makes it really hard because I don't know whether the ones for VFI are just a one-off. I don't know whether the ones in Australia, they're going to find more issues because they've not been through many games yet. But the damages are like primarily it's the boxes, it's the game boxes. So at this point in time, as far as I'm aware, the game components are all intact. And there might be one or two games that are particularly bad, but as far as I'm aware, that we're talking about kind of boxes splitting, lids kind of breaking, and we're not talking about, often you'll get games where kind of, the side of the box kind of splits out. We're talking about kind of lids splitting or edges kind of cracking, but like along the edges and stuff. And excuse me, one of the things that's really important to note with the City of Kings is that it is a heavy game and it is in a big box, but it's very, very dense. And often big heavy games will either be in bigger boxes or they'll be kind of, they have more kind of dispersed weight. But one of the problems with the game, and this is one of the kind of the theories that we're working with, is that if you kind of imagine this as kind of the box, the bottom kind of half of the box is very solid, it's very, very dense. But on top of that, there's effectively a kind of column of content that doesn't kind of cover the whole width. And what the kind of one of the possible scenarios is that that's kind of forced like a pin through the lid, if you kind of get what I mean by that. So with the kind of the lid's kind of like gone around that content as it's kind of had the weight pressure kind of put onto it, and because we haven't I guess fully filled the edges of the inside of the top of the box, it's kind of forced, like the edges have started to give way a little bit. And as I say, it's quite possible that that's just going to be a small group of the games that have that problem. The issues in Australia are much more to do with kind of bashing kind of damage or the crumpling kind of damage on the kind of sides of the box. And again, that feels a little bit more like it might be shipping related, but due to the weight of the game and the density of it, there's this whole combination of, has it been bashed around kind of in transport? Is it the that arching kind of weight? Is it the kind of the strength of the cardboard? Is it the fact that the games was too many were stacked on a pallet? Like, there's lots of questions, and until we get to kind of fun again getting the games in America, that becomes much harder for us to kind of understand. And the reason I can keep saying about like fun again in America is that they're a bigger operation that have a lot more stuff going through there, and they're kind of used to having kind of big projects and being able to kind of do a lot quickly. So as I mentioned in my update, Unicorn Games, I think they're sending out like between 100 and 200 games. It might be like 100, 150 games or something, and it's going to take them a couple of weeks to do that. But Fun Again are looking to ship over 1,500 games in a week. So that kind of difference is very, very kind of fundamental. And obviously this means that getting high levels of feedback is really important to us. With VFI and Unicorn, at the moment, we're looking at damages of like a total count of maybe 70 to 80 games, possibly getting close to 100. So, when you're looking at 100 games out of thousands, then the percentage of damages are, it's impossible to know. VFI games went in a truck and they went from the factory to them in a lorry. The American games and the European games have been on a ship for like 3-4 weeks. So that would imply that the damage, if it is transport based, could be much worse when it gets to America or England. But likewise, if it's more manufacturing based, then who knows? We really at this point don't know. And this is why it's critical, as I said in my update, that we just kind of wait. And I've gone back and forwards a lot about when do I write this update? You know, should I have written it a few days ago? Should I have waited? But I know people have seen that the games are in Australia. You know, people know the games are in America, and I just don't want people, you know, just still having their hopes up that the games are going to get there for Christmas. And for me, that's kind of one of the sad parts about it. You know, is that we kind of we were doing so well, and now like we've had these issues. Let me just have a catch up on these. Morton, I really appreciate that. I mean, obviously for me, I'm just trying to keep people up to date with these things and kind of, you know, you guys have spent so much money on this. It's a big game. It costs a lot of money. And I remember, you know, as I've kind of grown up through life, you know, you don't get money. No one just gives you money unless you're really lucky. And whenever someone buys something and kind of gives money to someone, then they owe it to them to kind of deliver. And until I deliver, then I want to kind of keep you guys in the loop. Andre, in regards to like the insurance, this is where it becomes really complicated. And so, for example, shipping is definitely insured, and the manufacturers are kind of, you know, they're very keen to understand the source of the problem, and we've already discussed kind of possible solutions, which may or may not come into consideration. And if those do happen, it's also going to cost them a lot of money. This is one of the facts, and I will always talk openly about this. You know, the money, the numbers, I really don't care if people know things. So here's a simple scenario. Let's say that and this isn't the case, I mean, they're still on a ship, we don't know, but let's say the games get to Europe and the games are badly damaged. And let's say that it turns out to be a manufacturing issue. Which again, like, there's no reason to assume that, but let's just put that issue into kind of like consideration. Then Watts are happy to cover the costs to fix that problem. But where it becomes a little bit more challenging is, at what point does their responsibility drop out? If they turn around and say to me, hey, we've remade like thousands of games and they're here now waiting for you, then they're still in China. And do we anticipate that they're then going to pay the bill to ship those from China to England? The shipping cost to get the games from China to England was, if you include some of the taxes and stuff, it was somewhere around £10,000. So even if we get the games made again and they get made for free and it's all covered, then there's still that issue of, are they going to pay that £10,000 to ship them to England? And they might do, they might not, they might pay some of it, but those are the kind of things where it becomes a bit more difficult. And likewise, then this is the reason I've kind of paused all the shipping. So let's say that Games Quest had the games, and let's say they started fulfilling the games, and let's say that they sent out all of the games to everyone, and at that point people came back and said, oh, there were problems with these games and they need to be replaced. Again, that same situation comes up with, so we've got to get the games made in China, and then we've got to ship them to England, and then we've got to send them out from Games Quest to Europe. And again, my fulfillment bill, I guess, the cost of shipping the games from England just to Europe, so this isn't the rest of the world, is somewhere between £10,000 and £15,000. So for me to get the games from China and then to get them into England and then get them from England to all of the people that they're fulfilling is somewhere around £20,000. And then you've got the fact that obviously the same applies with shipping and fulfilling in America, and there's lower costs for Australia and some of the other places. But the overall kind of shipping bill is, you know, it's well above £50,000. So those then become big questions, because there's lines that people will be able to help with and there's lines where people won't. You know, I mean, reprinting all the games for free and then reshipping them out is going to be a long process, and I'm hopeful that we don't get to that point. And at the moment, there's no reason to expect that's what we're going to have to do. But this is where that financial kind of concern becomes like real, because manufacturing is one of the bills and shipping is one of the big bills. And that really is hard, and that's why we've had to kind of pause stuff. So let's just have a look to see what's going on. Jeff, I really appreciate that. To say, like, you know, I'm trying hard to just make sure that everyone knows what's going on. It's certainly been a hard few days. I'm not gonna lie, me and Sarah, for those who don't know, Sarah's my girlfriend who obviously has been working on this project a lot. Hopefully everyone knows that, but she's been amazing and she's one of the reasons this game exists. We've been chatting a lot about what this means for us, and kind of I'm like a believer, and one of the reasons I believe that Kickstarter has gone so well and everything's gone so well is that I'm a believer of addressing every scenario, the plan for everything, the best, the worst, and the average, because then whatever happens, you always have a plan. In this scenario, the worst case is really, really bad for us, and that's hard to manage. You know, the best case is that the games start shipping in a few weeks, and this has all just been like a horrible kind of nightmare. But we'll see what happens with that. Well, let's have a look. I mean, yeah, like, thanks guys. I really appreciate all the kind of the kind words and the support. Is one of the funny things about Kickstarters is that, as we all know, like, that concept of kind of, you know, the silent majority, and whenever you kind of say something or do something, there's always a few people to comment, there's a few people who get involved, and generally they're the ones who are kind of the most upset about something, or someone who's, you know, very very kind of passionate about something, so they express their opinion on it, and that's fine, you know, but you often kind of put stuff out there and you get a lot more of the negative than the positive. And since I've run my Kickstarter, I've made it a real kind of mission of mine to like say thank you to creators and kind of like message them and say things, because I realized that how little that happens in comparison to the negatives. And writing this update was like terrifying, because, you know, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to upset people, and I know that this is hard, and I know this is emotional, and I know there's going to be people out there who are disappointed. I know there are going to be people out there who have made plans for Christmas to play the game, and, you know, it's going to have an impact on people, and, you know, that really just makes me really sad. And it's always the way. I mean, I remember when and if you're watching or listening to this, like, I totally am in no way upset or offended at anything, but this is just like a really good example of what I mean. Is I put out an update, as you know, a few weeks ago to say that we're hoping to ship the games before Christmas, and one of the first messages I got, which was a private message, was that's a problem for me, because I can only receive a certain amount of packages a year, or I get charged extra money. And if it's going to get here before and I hadn't planned for it to be here this year, I was planning for it to be here next year, so it's going to cost me lots of money. And is there any way that you can like delay it for me, or to change the address or something? And it's just one of those things that happens, you know, like, never in my life would I consider that shipping something to someone early was going to be a huge problem for them and cause them kind of, you know, issues in that sense. But it always happens, and you always get these kind of these weird edge cases which you have to deal with. And this situation is quite a big edge case, to say the least. So let's have a look to see what people are up to. Jeff, in regards to percentage of extras, this is where it's really difficult. So we have sold a lot of our stock, and before anyone starts worrying or panicking, this one of the reasons we shut the pre-orders as early as we did is that we were selling games so quickly, and so much more than I kind of anticipated. after the Gen Con, like the month after Gen Con, I had 400 copies of the game ordered. And that just, you know, was so many people and so many things. And there was a few big orders in there, but it was huge amounts that kind of, we had already signed off on quantities at that point. So we started selling through games. So the amount of additional games that we've got is low. And the reason I shut the pre-orders is I wanted to make sure we had some to sell when the game releases, because there's something weird about the idea of being sold out before your game's even released. Now, it's kind of traditional in the industry, and again, it depends on the fulfillment center and the region and who you're talking with, to have like an extra few games to cover damages. And different people will say 1%, 2%, some people will say 3 or 4%, but it kind of really varies. And generally like 2%, 3% is a safe amount of kind of spares. And they cover things like lost games, damaged games, and those kind of things. So we made sure to send every fulfillment center a number of games like higher than that. So I think we sent somewhere between like 5 and 10% to different places, which at the time seemed like a really, really high amount. And I kind of, at this point, I'm kind of a bit more concerned about that. Now, we've sent more games to America and to Europe. So they do have a slightly higher percentage of that, but again, it depends on the versions of the games. Europe has the biggest stock because my hope was to keep some games back for the UK Games Expo. It's always kind of been like a bit of a dream, you know, to go to a convention and to have a big pile of games behind me. And I don't really care if they sell or not, but just to have that experience. So we kept some games back for that, and at this point those games are likely to be used up for the damages and to be sent back out and stuff. So at the moment my biggest concern is that we will be completely like flat out sold out. Like there will be no more games and there'll be nothing to put into retail, there'll be nothing to put out elsewhere. But in regards to the backers, then like, you know, everyone's going to get their games. It's just a case of like what levels of damages there are and whether we need to do stuff to fix that. So one of the things that we've already kind of agreed with Watts is if we need to, they're 100% prepared and ready to kind of push to the front of their printing lines as quickly as possible a new print run of boxes. And they will be boxes which will be slightly bigger than the standard boxes, and we would send them out to the fulfillment centers. And I've talked with Fun Again and Games Quest about the concept of being able to repackage games within their facilities and then being able to kind of move the contents into these boxes and ship them out. Now obviously that's far from ideal, but there's ways that we can kind of mitigate the problems. One of the challenges with that, as I say, is shipping stuff is expensive. And something that surprised me, but I guess it makes sense, is when you're importing and you're shipping stuff on a ship, a lot of the cost comes down to how much space you're taking up. Whilst weight does play a factor, volume is a big part of that. So if we were to reprint all of our boxes and to send them all out again, then that will cost us tens of thousands. And that's obviously kind of far from ideal. I mean, obviously we'd only have to do it for the ones that we have damages, but again, until we know the numbers and the quantities, we might be okay. Like this might be me being kind of too over the top and panicking, or it might not be, but we don't know for the time being. Let's have a look. Well, we've gained our first spam bot, I assume. I mean, I got no idea, but that's quite exciting, isn't it? I mean, we can win some stuff. I recommend that no one does go and try and win the stuff, because it's probably not too legit, but we're kind of big enough to get people interested in spamming us. I guess that does mean that I'm going to have to start putting some filters onto the chat, not something I'd really considered at this point. So Escone, like, I'm really glad that your kids kind of enjoyed it, and like, you know, that's one of the things. This is like one of the things that I really love, and like, obviously at the moment, for those who don't know, I'm kind of organising the City of Games 2018, which is a board game convention. And one of the reasons I want to do that, someone asked me in an interview, you know, what is it you want to get from this? And I love that idea of a family just coming to our convention and experiencing gaming for the first time. To know that they can go home and to play games and create memories. Because gaming is fun, it's entertaining. But for me, board gaming is about creating memories. It's about having like opportunities. It's what like the City of Kings is all about. It's about creating a kind of immersive experience that allows you to create a memory. I'll always remember a game of Eclipse that I played. I don't know when, it was years ago, and we were playing, and it was like, I think there was like 6 of us, and there or might have been 8, and we had alliances, and there was 2 people on one side of the table that were grouped together as an alliance, and I was teamed up with the 2 guys next to me, and we were playing the mode where it was the expansion where you're kind of, when you're allies, you can actually go through each other's territory and stuff. And I've been texting the other people under the table, basically saying like, once my allies have kind of come through my base and they've kind of grouped with me to fight you, I'm going to break that alliance and join your side, and then we can kind of just surround them. And it was the most magical experience, you know, like I will always remember that kind of moment when we were all ready to fight, and then it was just like, yeah, I'm leaving you and joining them. And that's what games are about. It's about those moments that you remember, and the City of Kings, I really hope, gives people, individuals who are playing solo, couples, friends, board game groups, you know, conventions, like everyone, kind of just moments of memories and kind of experiences that they can share. No pun included. This is what happens when you don't mod me. I probably should have modded you. I probably should have modded someone. This is the first time I've done a live stream on YouTube since the Kickstarter, and it's only the 2nd time I've done it. I don't really want to turn this into too much of an advert, but as people may have noticed, I've started doing some playthrough videos recently, and I intend to start live streaming more, and I'm going to be using YouTube for that, I think. I'm still not 100% sure. I might use Twitch, but I guess I'm going to have to look into some mods and some stuff. I guess possibly I could work that out now. Let's have a look. What does this do? No. No. Let's click on this button. No. These buttons are not the right buttons to be clicking on. We can click on you, and no, it's fine. All I've managed to do is clear the chat from the screen, so we'll work that out another time. Let's have a look to see what's going on in the chat on my phone. There aren't a lot of questions, so tell us more about how people try playing the game who've been able to play at conventions and play tests, and what kind of feedback. Yeah, one thing I will say, and this is a small thing which I'm going to say to you guys here, I probably should have put it into the Kickstarter update, but I kind of didn't want to. But the art prints for the City of Kings, for the people who bought the collector's edition and the people who added on the art prints, we've been working on those for the last couple of weeks, and they are so beautiful. Like, they are so much better than I anticipated. I mean, we paid a huge premium. I mean, these are professional art prints that are guaranteed for 150 years. They have a certificate, and they are air pollution safe, and it's insane how good they are. I mean, they cost an absolute fortune, but this was like a luxury I want to send out. And the point is that those are shipping separately to the game, so those should still hopefully be arriving before Christmas. So people who ordered those will hopefully still get something. I say I probably should have put that in the update, but I was not really thinking about it at the time, so I'll say something soon. But if you back the collector's edition or order the prints, they're amazing, and hopefully you might get those soon-ish. Scott, so Ghostly Tuna, you found a great board game shop in Seattle, dropped a ton of cash there, they were having an open day for kids to get involved. That sounds pretty cool. I think that with like the City of Games like convention, I really want to make sure we've kind of got an area that's really welcoming and friendly for kids. I think that's a really important thing. And next, or the year after the 2019, I've got plans to make this kind of big family area, which is quite inspired by Essen, I guess. I think that having come back from Essen recently, I just love the family friendliness level of that, and I don't feel that some of the other conventions quite achieve that yet. I hope you managed to get the games back from America to England safely. Let's have a quick look through. It's cool, Jim. Like, I will always tell people everything that they want to know that I can, that's not kind of confidential or going to cause problems. Like, even with the pricing and stuff, you know, I'm happy to tell people how much that stuff costs. I'm happy to talk about how much money we were making before these problems. I'm happy to talk about all of these things. The only reason I kind of don't scream and shout about them yet is because nothing's final. To put it into perspective, right now I still don't have a cost for our Australian shipping. I still don't have a cost for our American importing or American shipping, and I still don't have a finalized cost for our UK shipping. I've got rough quotes for all of these, and I know roughly where they're going to be, but it's somewhere between 25 and like £40,000. It's, you know, one of those things where that's so much money, and I have no idea which way it's going, and things change all the time. One of the luckiest things that happened to me, and one of the things that no one can predict, is that and I want to be careful how I word this, but there's been a lot of changes in America over the last 6 months, and there's been a lot of kind of political things that have happened, and the result of that is that the pound to dollar kind of value has changed a lot. So when we did the Kickstarter, my manufacturing bill I pay in dollars. A lot of the stuff I don't, but the manufacturing bill I do pay in US dollars. And the conversion rate for the pound to dollar back then, we were working on basically $1.2 to the pound. And when we actually paid the manufacturing bill, which was 6 months later than that, the conversion it was like $1.34 to the pound. So we actually ended up saving like a few £1,000s, quite a few £1,000s on our manufacturing bill, purely because of the value change between the dollar and the pound. And, you know, I know people who've had Kickstarters where it's changed the other way round, and, you know, that must be devastating. So we've had some real luck in some situations, and that was one of the things that allow me to put some of the money into the convention that I'm organising, is because we did have that bit of saving there, which was kind of unexpected money. Marius, in regards to Twitch, like, I used to stream on Twitch a little bit, well before we had this kind of super groovy setup, and now I'm kind of, I don't know, YouTube is kind of where my videos are, my audience is. So I've been talking to Ghostly Tuna about kind of multi-streaming and streaming to like one Twitch channel, one YouTube channel. I'm doing some streaming with him on Twitch whilst I stream to YouTube, or just putting the videos on YouTube, but we'll see. I feel that the board game community is stronger on YouTube at the moment than Twitch, but Twitch is growing, so I really don't know. Like, this has gone really well. Like, the streaming tonight on YouTube has gone smoothly, and hopefully the quality and the audio is coming through like fine. Until I can watch the video afterwards, I don't know, but I'm feeling that YouTube might be kind of my go-to as well. One of the things I want to start doing with the playthroughs is I would like to kind of do live playthroughs where I'm actually just playing random games with myself, and then recording them and releasing them on YouTube, but kind of doing it live and letting people participate a bit. I'm currently contemplating doing a solo playthrough of Twilight Imperium 4. I say contemplating because it's quite heavy in negotiation and player interaction, and doing that solo might not be too easy, and it's likely to take like 12 hours. So but we'll see. It might be fun, so maybe I'll do that as a live stream. We'll see. Yeah, Paul, thank you so much. I mean, you know, my passion for this, I guess, is just like it's who I am. You know, I've wanted to do this for a long time, and people are giving me that opportunity, and I'm gonna just push and push and push. The board game. So for those who are watching, the Board Game Geek most anticipated game of 2018 list is up at the moment, and you can vote for games that you're looking forward to next year. And people have been voting for the City of Kings, and it's amazing to see. I think we were in 13th place when I last looked, and if we're in the top 20, we'll get through to like the next round. And it's just amazing to think of all the games that are coming out next year, that so many people are kind of putting our game so high on that. And I really like I basically cried when I first saw how many votes we had on there. It was just so overwhelming. And I remember last year I added the City of Kings to it, and I think we had like 30 or 40, maybe 50 votes. And this was obviously the last year, so well before the Kickstarter and stuff. And back then I was amazed by how many votes we got. And this time, having someone add us within like 5 minutes of the list going up, and like, oh my God, like, it's amazing. I really appreciate every single vote that we've had. What upcoming games have you got planned for Frank Plays? Well, as I say, I mean, Twilight Imperium is one that I'm really considering, like truly considering doing, but it is going to be a challenge. And even though this table is big, like, I don't know, and negotiate, like, everyone I've said to, like, that I'm doing it has basically said, you're an idiot, don't do it. But that kind of makes me want to do it more. So we'll see. Other games, I'm going to be doing the City of Kings soon. I don't know if that counts, but I'm going to do like the final official run through of that. I was planning on doing it this week, but I've not been in the most positive of moods, and I've had a lot to kind of deal with. So that's going to probably happen in the next couple of weeks. Outside of that, I don't know. I was considering doing Charterstone because I'm quite intrigued to play through all of Charterstone, but equally, I don't want to have to commit to doing like, you know, 12 plays or however many it is, and then not doing like 12 other games. At the moment, there's not enough games on the channel for it to kind of warrant spending so much on one, perhaps. But I don't know if there's games that I've got that people want to see, like have a look. If you go to my Board Game Geek profile, the City of Kings, I've got nearly 500 board games on there. So that's like the majority of my collection. So, you know, pick them out and I'm happy to do them. I've been thinking about doing the Venus Next expansion for Terraforming Mars. I've been thinking of doing Tyler de Balminster, I think it is, which is a game I picked up at Essen and really enjoy. But there's lots of them. Really, it's just kind of games that I would like to play and kind of see them happen. Anyone who wonders when I just go silent, I'm basically just looking at my phone trying to catch up on what's going on. So, Jared, in regards to how bad the damage is, it's hard to kind of put a real definitive kind of thing on that at the moment, which is why I've not put the detail out there. Because different fulfillment centers are basically reporting different types of damage and different numbers of games damaged. So it's very possible at this moment that we've had a shipping problem and we've had a manufacturing problem, or we've just had like different extremes, or they've just not opened the right boxes. All the damages to the boxes, none of the components, as far as I'm aware at this point, have been damaged. But some of the boxes have been badly broken, in the point that the lids have kind of snapped. Well, they've not completely snapped, but you wouldn't want them on your shelf. And obviously it's not all of the games, but it's different numbers and different percentages. And again, I really don't want to put too much out there about the exact details until I have all the facts, because these reports are based off 70, 80 games, maybe 100, and we've got thousands of games. So even if all of these were broken, that could be like, you know, 5% of our entire stock if nothing else is broken. So it's still too early to kind of know the extent of that. So at the moment, like the worst case scenario that we kind of predict is that we need to recreate all the boxes and reship the boxes. We don't anticipate having to redo the entire game, but we're also hopeful that the damage is low enough to not even need to have to redo the boxes to such an extent. Yeah, I mean, once obviously I know a bit more and stuff. And in regards to the photos, I have got some photos. Like I'm like be honest about that, but I don't want to put them out there yet because again, they're really, really poor photos. They really don't kind of show the problem that well. And like the worry is that as soon as information is out there, people will make decisions and people will kind of be, and this again, me being honest about it, people will start to decide whether or not it's something that concerns them, whether it's something that's a problem for them. And some people might say that that's not a big enough issue and I would like to have my game. Other people will say, oh my God, that's horrific, it's all falling apart, because there's always different extremes. And that's a really difficult thing to manage. So until we know the exacts and we get proper kind of photos and we get a video and we kind of get full information and I can kind of present that to people properly, I want to be really careful about kind of what gets out there exactly. Yeah, Jed, I mean, the new edition of Twilight Imperium is really, really good. Like, I played it at Gen Con a bit, and I played it like recently, and it is really good, and it is so much quicker than Twilight Imperium 3. But obviously, one of the things, like when you solo play a game and you're controlling multiple characters, it generally takes a little bit longer, I find, because when you're playing with a group of people, obviously you're thinking about your turn whilst people are doing their turns. But when you're playing all the characters, you kind of need to stop and assess what's going on with the character that you're playing. So if the game takes 4 hours, it might take 5 hours or something along those lines. And because I'm trying to do full playthroughs and I want them to be fun and energetic, and it's not just about kind of providing someone with like a playthrough, it's about just kind of making it a bit more entertaining. And something I'm working on is, you know, making them more interesting to play. Yeah, Ghostly Tuna, I also need to pick up Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Sarah and I haven't quite finished Season 1, and we were playing it loads, and then I kind of launched a Kickstarter, and we haven't gone back to it, so I do need to get that finished off and kind of go back and have a bit of a think about Season 2. Oh yeah, Paul, thank you so much for adding me to the list. I just, yeah, as soon as you said it, I totally realised. I'm so grateful, like seriously, like you putting me on that list was such a highlight of that evening. Like I was so happy about it. It was really cool. Yeah, Jed, the problem with the kind of getting other people to play the games is, I mean, it's fine, and for some situations it's okay, but I want to avoid making it too much of a kind of a bunch of people playing games. So I've done a few games with Ghostly Tuna and live streams and stuff, and it's about kind of, you know, making it interesting on camera, because from my perspective at least, watching just people playing a game and not really entertaining is not quite what I want to kind of get across. So it's about finding the right people. And Twilight Imperium, obviously you also want to make sure people know the rules, and I'm kind of terrified that I'm not going to remember all the rules. But yeah, maybe I can do it with Ghostly Tuna as well. Maybe we can do 3 characters each and we can do 3 versus 3 or something. Good night, Sebastian. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate you being here and kind of like, you know, just coming and listening and kind of being involved with it. Have a good flight back, Scott. I hope you get back safe and we can play some games soon, hopefully. For anyone else who's still here as well, I mentioned, I don't know if people saw it, but I put out an update on Facebook earlier this week or last week about an announcement I was going to make. And I'm still kind of tired about this at the moment because I've been doing a lot of work in the last month to kind of build up to doing this big announcement, and it's it's not necessarily now the right time to do it. So I'm possibly going to pull back on that. But I mean, effectively, it's it's a game that we've been working on that we kind of want to announce and talk about a bit. It's not an expansion for the City of Kings. I'll be really clear on that. But it's like the third game in the series that I kind of want to start talking about and kind of introducing people to. It's coming together very quickly. The playtesting for it has gone so much better than we expected. And if people know that we're working on Rising Blades, which is a big game, this other project is kind of surpassing Rising Blades in terms of the quickness that things are happening and the kind of the quality of the kind of end result. So at some point I'm going to kind of start putting some information out about that, but probably not at this point in time. Yeah, Jim, exactly that as well. Like, as soon as you put a photo out with damage and stuff, it just becomes like, it can be taken the wrong way, it can be interpreted the wrong way, and I just want to wait until we kind of have the facts and the details. For anyone who's recently joined, hi and welcome, thanks for kind of coming and being here. I also just want to reiterate something I said at the start of this video, which is that at this point, I don't want anyone having any negative feelings about manufacturers or shipping companies or fulfillment companies. They have all been so good to me and so kind of great in their services and how they've kind of dealt with this problem, and there is no one to blame like outside of me. So please, who are the manufacturers, have been such a pleasure to work with for the last year, and I would recommend them and continue to recommend them to so many people. OTX, who did our shipping, again have been fantastic, and all of the fulfillment centers who are starting to get involved now are being great as well. So please don't think that any of this is their responsibility. Yeah, Jim, exactly. We'll probably kind of announce it in the next few weeks, maybe in kind of the build up to Christmas or something, but I just want to deal with this problem first, to say the least. Yeah, Julian, it was great to meet you as well. I mean, Essen was such a cool experience. Like, my goodness, we walked so far. I mean, I don't know if people saw this, but me and Sarah, Sarah's got a Fitbit, and we recorded how far we walked when we were at Essen. And in the 5 days at Essen, we walked 180 kilometers, which is pretty ridiculous. Like, we were averaging like 30 plus kilometers a day around that convention center, and we met so many people and saw so much, and it was amazing. And oh my goodness, I'm going to be there next year, and hopefully we can organize something a little bit kind of bigger and whatnot, so people can kind of get involved and play some games and stuff. Will I be touring the UK next year to demonstrate your game, Jessica? Yeah, Jessica, for sure. I'm not sure what yet. So I'm going to be at Aircon next year for sure, which is in March, I think it is March, yeah. And obviously going to be at the City of Games in February. I'm going to be at the UK Games Expo in June, I think it is. It might be the end of May this year, but it's, at the UK Games Expo. So those three are all booked, paid for, confirmed. Other than that, I don't know yet, but I definitely want to go to a few more. Next year, we're going to have, obviously, the City of Kings, but we're definitely going to have prototypes for another game, possibly 2 games. So there's going to be a lot for us to take around. And like, one of the unannounced projects we're working on at the moment, I'm really excited about, because it's just something, I don't think people will be expecting it. It's a little bit different. It's not like some big grandiose project. It's very small, but it's just kind of slightly different take on something, which I think is kind of quite cool and interesting. So I'm definitely going to be spreading the word for that. Thanks, Jim. Speak to you later. Yeah, exactly, Paul. I mean, that's kind of my thinking as well. We'll just hold back until we kind of get that info. But again, these are kind of the unforeseen issues, because as some people know, like, my goal has really been to kind of release our next game on Kickstarter in February, and in order to do that, obviously I want people to be playing the game and to know about the game. I want to start sending stuff out to people and getting playtests and reviews done. And in order to do that, I kind of want to announce the game and talk about the game in detail. And that kind of means, you know, these problems will push that back. So when people talk about the financial implications of this, even if the shipping and the manufacturing and everything gets paid for and there's no direct cost to the City of Kings, just the delays and the problems with other projects take a financial hit as well. So there's a lot of kind of surrounding issues that kind of become challenging, which we have to kind of deal with. Julian, in regards to insurance, like, there is and there isn't. Like, insurance will cover various things. It will cover like damaging, it will cover shipping and those kind of things. But it's the costs that kind of sit between those elements. So I was saying earlier, like, let's say that the games are damaged. Let's say that the shipping company pays the cost for that. Or let's say that we still need to obviously get them remade and we still need to ship them again. And the time implications of that kind of come up and cost us stuff. If there's a manufacturing issue and the manufacturing gets redone, then we still have to work out how we get the games from there to here. And as you know, insurance and all of these things take time. It's always kind of questions you ask and you hope that you're going to get the answers that you want. And hopefully, like, you know, a lot of the costs will be covered, but there's a lot of kind of implications of those things involved. The City of Games now is my full-time job. It's my life. I don't have any other source of income, and every delay, everything that forces us to not be able to kind of start focusing on the next thing and not to get stuff out there, becomes really challenging financially. And those are the kind of things, I guess, that the insurance doesn't help protect as much. But honestly, it's one of those things where I don't know 100%. We're obviously looking into it. Like, things are insured, there are things in place, but we need to get responses. We need to hear from people and understand what's happening. So don't apologize at all. Like, it's that's why I'm here, to answer these things. I'm sorry if I sounded wrong with that answer. It's kind of like one of those difficult things that, like, I truthfully, you know, I've not done this before, and we've asked people, and I'm hoping that the answers will come back in such a positive way. It's nearly 10 to now, so we've been going for like 50 minutes. So I'm probably gonna wrap up in the next kind of 5 minutes or so. This was quite last minute, it was quite spontaneous. I was writing the update and I've been kind of, you know, wording it out for a while, and I just felt like I wanted to include a video. I wanted to kind of put a video out there so people could kind of see stuff. And then I thought that just doing a live stream was easier, because even if no one came and watched, then at least we had the option to kind of just talk openly and honestly and not edit stuff and not do multiple takes. And it's just more of a, like, this is me kind of talking about stuff. So yeah, like, it's been great to have some people here. I really appreciate it. And again, this is one of those things, you know, the Kickstarter was 6 months ago. The game isn't quite shipping yet. And knowing that there's people out there who care enough to be involved in these discussions and to come and listen is such a, like, reassuring thing as well. And it really means a lot to me and to Sarah and to Miguel, the artist. You know, he sits here with us all day as well, and like, that's a, you know, it's a really, like, it's a nice thing. I mean, I try not to show off kind of behind the camera stuff too much. But let's see, if I just press these, if I just switch this back over, and let's have a quick look to see if this is going to work. And which one are we going to do? There we go. So you can see this is not set up for this camera in this lighting, but you can see over here that this is the camera which I'm kind of looking at. And then behind the camera, you can see our desks. So this is where we kind of sit and work all day. And over on the walls over there, you can see, like, the artwork of the characters. And then obviously over here, you can see our radiator and, like, some of our other characters on the wall behind us. This is the camera that sits above that records the playthroughs and stuff. And then obviously we've got the computer equipment and stuff down here, which I use for streaming. So this is a very kind of horrible overview of our stuff, and I pressed all the wrong buttons. I've got a keyboard that switches between all the cameras, and we've got 4 different cameras set up. They're not all online at the moment, so that's why you kind of probably got the different screens as we went through. Like, thanks guys, like I really do appreciate it, and that rather spontaneous look around the office. You know, as you can see, this is literally like the room that I live in now. I get here every morning, I come and work. When I say work, I mean it's not work, but it is work, if you get what I mean. And then I do the videos here, I'll go and get dinner and come back here, I'll come here at the weekends, we'll play games here. Like, it's just so cool to be able to do this and kind of have this opportunity, and you guys are the guys that have kind of given this to me. So I really appreciate that. And as I said in the update, like, I'm really going to do my best to keep people updated. And if anyone's asking like how they can help, or if anyone's wondering like if there's anything they can do, honestly, like, just if you see people writing comments and they're kind of asking questions and stuff and you know the answers, then just jump on board. If you see anyone who seems concerned, then just, you know, reassuring them and stuff would be so grateful, because I know there's going to be upset people. Like, don't get angry with them, don't say whatever, just kind of, you know, like, this is about building a community and about having people on board and just asking them, and you know, helping people kind of deal with the issue would really help me a lot. I'm pretty sure Paul Grogan is CGI. I was at his house just before Essen, so I guess a month or so ago now, and there's like this magical aura about him that you kind of feel like you could just kind of put your arm like and it just pass straight through. But I didn't try it because obviously I was in his house and I was a guest and I didn't want to test the CGI-ness. So guys, I think that's going to be it. We're coming up to 10 o'clock. I'm just going to kind of slowly turn away and switch off the stream as I can work out the right button to press. I did not set up for streaming. Bear with me. Oh my goodness. We're coming over here. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for asking the questions. Thanks for supporting, and for being like so positive and reassuring. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a good day. I hope you have a good evening. I hope you enjoy whatever you get up to before you go to bed tonight, and I'll update you all soon. So thank you guys.